Now, because the system looked at me the system looked at me as a criminal. They looked at me as a bad person. And the reason was because I would fight. I would fight back. The system has people in place to protect us. You don't need to fight back. They're called policemen. And I don't allow the police to do their job. And so when I fight back, in their minds, that tells them that I must be bad. And it ended up, so about 17 years old, my father sent me out of Topeka. Topeka's northern folk. And so they look at things different than southern folk. And so my father sent me down to the Kansas-Oklahoma line. And down there, it was small communities. I mean, population like 6,000 or 8,000 in the towns in that area. And so things were a little bit different then. The racial really wasn't near as aggressive as it was in Topeka. It was just, the racial stuff was more being cocky, I guess, in your face kind of stuff. And that was about it. No big deal. Okay. So, and then at that time, I said 18, I joined the Marines, and wake up, Mike. So, the military is the ultimate in a tyrant. They are the ultimate. The military, and it's understandable, and I understand it. I understand it completely. And to make the military work, they have to be tyrants. The whole system is set up. You are going to do this. You have no choice. You will be thrown in the brig, in jail. You're going to be put in jail if you don't do this. That's according to, and that's why military has separate laws. They don't even go by the laws like everybody else does. They got their own laws. It is a tyrant type organization. And they have to do that to get people to get things done, the stuff that they do. They're in the war business. And negotiating, being a nice guy isn't part of doing that. So they use tyrant type methods of getting things done. Now, for me, it was a shock. I say, I didn't. I mean, it was super bad. And I already made the video on crappy Vietnam War stories. And I talk about going to boot camp. I talk about all that kind of stuff. But like I say, I'm older now. I'm wiser. And I look back at this stuff. And I've learned from all this stuff. Now, but one of the things that happened to me when I was in the Corps, the first thing is I wanted out. There was nothing about it that intrigued me at all. I've got skills. Like I say, I've owned businesses, so I can take responsibility. I can do all this stuff. I didn't need a tyrant to force me to do things. until I got to Vietnam. Now, once I got to Vietnam, and once I'm 18 years old, 3 months ago, I was fighting bullies. And none of them, their goal was to kill me. And so once I got to Vietnam, then things changed. And the tyrant, in other words, you do what I tell you, you don't have no choice, I kind of went along with it. Because the people that were telling me what to do have been in Vietnam months already. They've been in combat. They know how to live, otherwise they wouldn't be here. So I listened to them. And I spent my 13 months living in the jungle. That's what I did. I didn't live back in some base or anything. I lived out in the combat zone. I was along the DMZ. Anybody that knows anything about Vietnam, I was along Con Thien, Khe Sanh is the areas that I was at. My rear was Dong Ho or something like that. But, and they're not even in the rear. A lot of people thought those were combat bases. That was my rear. But anyway, so now I'm out and I'm fighting for my life now. Now, who am I fighting? This is where it helped me. I mean, I came back, I had all the nightmares, I had everything like everybody talks about. But what helped me get through it is I wasn't going into villages, I wasn't going into homes. I didn't have to deal with anybody. I was out in the jungle, along the DMZ. So there was nobody there except for the enemy. So where I was, it was all war. Now, I understand we are invaders. We are occupiers to their country. I understand that. As a whole. Now, for me, in my little world, it's with two other people in a hole. I am not an occupier, in my mind. I'm just trying to protect my little hole. I just want to live one more day. That's all I want to do. They look at us as, like I say, occupiers, invaders. And when we came in, not we like me, but as American troops, we come in, we establish order, we make people do things. Didn't I mention that? Tyrants. That's what the military is. They're tyrants. People don't have no choice. They make you do this or you are killed. I mean, this is on the far end of being a tyrant. I mean, the military kills people that doesn't do what they are told. In war, that's what they do. And when they're not in war, they're on their own little base, and like I say, they have their own laws and rules. They're exempt from whatever country they're in. They're exempt from their laws and rules. Not really, but they got it. They got their own ways of working that stuff out. Okay, so the people looked at us, the U.S., as bullies when I was talking about the DMZ. We made them move out of the DMZ and we made houses areas for them to live, and we moved them over there. That's what a bully does. They make you do things that you don't really want to do. And a tyrant will kill you when they tell you to do something and you don't do it. So bullies will bully you. They'll push you. They will intimidate you. They'll do all kinds of stuff like that. And so we were bullies. And when we start getting in place, got our military fully active, then we turn into tyrants. And then that makes the war. This is what I learned. I may be all wrong. I'm just telling you the way I see it. Okay, now, in my hole, and these other two of us, this is our world. We are not bullies. We are not tyrants. We're just trying to live to the next day. And so our focus was in our area, keeping bullies. They weren't tyrants. And the reason they weren't tyrants is we weren't under their control. Now, if they were, just like our military took over South Vietnam, making us, the military, tyrants, making people what to do, telling them what to do, making them do it, where they die. They had no control over us in our little old hole. So they weren't really tyrants, but what they were was a type of a bully. But like I say, they're wanting to kill us, but they want us out. But now we're playing with words a lot on this, because like I say, I see it as I haven't done nothing to these people, I personally. And these other two guys, we haven't done nothing to these people at all. So there's no reason for them to try to kill us. So they are a threat. Now what kind of threat are they? It's war. And when it's war, things are different. So oh man, trying to explain this bullies and tyrant kind of stuff is wild. Okay, we're going to move on, because that's a moral issue that I had to deal with. And when you start killing people, and that's why a lot of people that have been in combat and they come home, they try to adjust to a normal life, just to be a normal life. They did immoral acts, and they're trying to live with themselves for the immoral acts they did, because these are moral people that did immoral things. At least that's the way it was with me in Vietnam. I mean, I've tried my very best to be as moral as possible. And in war, I had to do immoral things. And then I have to justify saying it's okay to do it. It's not an emotionally healthy thing to do. That's why you have the nightmares and you have all the problems. Okay. Okay. I come back from Vietnam. While I was gone for a year and a half. 6 months of training, or 5 months of training, and 13 months of combat. And I'm out of the service. I was 19 years old. I came back to my little town on the border of Kansas, Oklahoma. Now, when I came back, I find out these people are burning cars. In these little small communities, they're burning cars. when a white teacher, at that time, how do you say it? At that time, when Mike is bad, I'm sitting in my booth, my little desk, and I'm teasing the girl in front of me. The teacher will grab me by the arm, drag me out to the principal's office. Okay. That's the mindset at that time. Now, teachers are scared to touch the students. And one of the reasons is because